some new faces. So it'd be wonderful if you could introduce yourself and say either why you came today or why you come generally.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll start with me. My name is Daniel. I recently came into the community about a year or two ago, basically. And basically, let's see, why am I here? I guess I'm here because, well, I'm a member of the Jewish nation, no doubt, very proud of that aspect, basically. But to be perfectly honest, back in my old hometown of Englewood, New Jersey, basically, I had a absolutely lousy rabbi, basically. And
Reformed, conservative, Orthodox?
Reformed. And basically
Reform. We're still reforming.
Oh, gotcha.
So.
Yeah. well, actually, to be fair, it was a Reformed synagogue. He was more of a conservadox fundamentalist of some sort, basically, himself. And it really didn't fit the scene at all, basically, but he's kind of scared me away from the whole thing to the point that after I was bar mitzvahed, when I was giving my thankful speech to the audience members and those who helped me prepared, I actually publicly converted in the middle of the speech to ancient Greek neo-paganism.
That reminds me
That must have gone over big.
Has anybody here seen the final episode of Weeds?
No.
The final episode of Weeds, I hope I'm not ruining this for you in case you decide to watch it, but the woman Nancy Botwin, the central character played by Mary Louise Parker, in the final season she ends up converting and marrying a rabbi. So her son, who is ultimately the biological son of a dead Mexican mafioso, is now Jewish and has his bar mitzvah, and as his sermon at his bar mitzvah, he completely renounces everything publicly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you are in, I don't know if I can call that good company, but you are in company with...
Well, regardless,
Yes.
I mean, basically, I recently have also considered in more detail the Greek neo-paganism. I'm fascinated by the religious beliefs of Greek neo-paganism and the stories as well and everything like that, but I've since focused further into the neo-pagan movement toward Celtic Druidism, love of nature, basically spirituality towards in harmony with nature.
Here for the right day.
Oh, well, I look forward to hearing why. But basically, I'm intrigued basically to be among fellow Jews by nation, regardless, and perhaps I'd love to interact more about the religious aspects as well. I'm interestingly, moderately, staunchly neo-pagan still, just in the Celtic aspects, basically.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
of course.
I look forward to
You're very
speaking with you more. Daniel, what's your last name?
Lesson.
Lesson. L-E-S-S-E-N?
I-N.
I-N.
Comes from. It's not Jewish. It's a strange wording base. It comes from Lasla and Gardens, my mother's maiden name. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
My name is Brenda Lucas. I live in Metuchen. And I'm on break right now between semesters from a class that I'm taking in New York Jewish Ethics and History.
Oh, wow.
A female rabbi. And
where are you learning? Where is the course? Where does it take place?
Oh, it's in a senior center across from Fashion Institute.
Oh, okay.
And
who teaches it?
Rabbi Lori Gold. She's from Queens.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm a Christian, but I love the what we call the Old Testament. I love it so much, and feel right at home with all the teachings. But I don't know all the Jewish words that she comes out with, like you'll say
Like
word in
oy
English.
vey.
Yeah, and then at the end she'll say something, and then somebody will poke me that they'll tell me later.
Oh,
And I'm the only Christian in the class.
that's very interesting.
There's two half and halves, which I believe because the rest are Jewish, and I was the only one with perfect attendance.
Oh, there you go.
I have to say, Jews aren't known for their timeliness. Yeah. Yeah, our Messiah still hasn't shown up yet, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm Carol too.
That was a joke, by the way, just in case.
You'll tell me later, right?
May not. I'm Carol.
Wait, you don't get it? Oh, because Christians believe the Messiah has come with Jesus.
Right.
So the coming was timely, that Jesus came, although there's the whole waiting for the second time. But since Jews have poor timing, our Messiah hasn't bothered to show up yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a
My
whole
pleasure.
thing.
I'm always say if you don't get it, because chances are someone else either here or in cyberspace won't get it too. So.
Where was it? Oh, I'm Carol Sue,
Are you now?
Who am I?
Aren't you Nikki or?
I have many names. Carol Sue is one of them.
Some people say Carol. Some people say Sue.
Some people call me Nana. Some people call me Mom. Some people call me whatever.
Blondie.
Some people call me late for dinner. No, that's terrible too.
Don't call me Shirley.
Anyway,
yes.
so I'm here because I like it. I like studying with the rabbi. I like what he has to say, and it's a good way to get out of the house.
Excellent.
Okay. My name is Denise. Ditto what she said.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was fun.
My name is Brian. And
Your wife makes you come.
No, I actually do like to come. It is an interesting phone call. So.
Fantastic. So, I guess we can. Is the camera running now? Oh, hello. Welcome to class today. So the first thing, I didn't bring anything for you to write on, but this is one question, and I want you to think about it. Talk about your connection to nature. Think about your connection to nature. We'll take maybe 30 seconds to present it. So, brief connection to nature. What nature signifies to you, and particularly if there is a spiritual element to it. What is that element and why? So, take a moment. You can fast forward about 30 seconds on YouTube. And then if you want to go for the meta question, figure out why I'm asking.
I don't like bugs.
So, wait,
I don't know
is
where I'm
everybody
gonna go
ready to share? Okay, who wants to go first? Carol Sue raised her hand.
I
so.
don't like bugs. So I don't like to be around bugs and crawly things.
So there's something that causes you deep fear that keeps you from communing with nature.
No, I just don't like bugs.
Okay.
But commune with nature, yes. I like to go out on my nice deck with no, bugs. And I like to see the sun. Yes, I like to see the sunrise. To me, that's beautiful. And I always try to go out there early in the morning and just thank God for the day that He's given me and that I'm about to make important.
So your relationship, your spiritual connection is you appreciate good beauty. You appreciate the beauty of nature, but you're also simply thankful for the world in which we live, that it exists. That you.
I couldn't have said that better. That's really nice.
It's easy to
Thank you for
rephrase.
interpreting.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So general thanks and beauty, those are your two connections. Excellent. You were next, Daniel?
Well, I guess I could try to be. I have really, I can only go so far in myself. I'm always learning new things after all, basically. But, and actually I have some very interesting stories about my clashes, I guess you could say, basically, with
your journey.
Much better put, with the fellow Jews versus my knowledge of nature, actually, even in town. It's been kind of interesting and stressful, which is odd because I thought Jews were not supposed to proselytize, actually, in general. But
that's not true. It was a policy for a long time not to proselytize because it was dangerous for us to do so.
I see.
We don't believe that we need to save the world by turning everyone Jewish. But we're not forbidden from telling people Judaism's a great religion. You have to check it out.
Well, maybe I can go into that story a bit later because I'm interested to see what your reaction is. As to the question at hand, shall we say?
Yes.
Yes, all right.
30 seconds begins now.
All right, I guess I sort of believe that, nature is kind of a binding force that surrounds us and penetrates it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Force, Star Wars, basically. I honestly sort of see it that way, basically. I have difficulty sort of seeing it as, any one deity that's sort of separate from the whole thing, creating it in a certain way, so much as I sort of see it as some sort of like inner workings of a clock in a certain way, basically. how that clock got there, whether or not there was a blind watchmaker in the first place, I do kind of wonder occasionally. But I just feel basically that, we are all a part of nature. We all have a spark of the divine inside us in a certain way that is in all of us, basically, in all things in a certain way. That nature, therefore, is in all of us. In a certain way.
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell you right now, and this might come as a shock.
Mm-hmm.
This belief structure that you're speaking about, where nature is ultimately, that is your connection to spirituality and belief. What you said is a very Jewish perspective.
Okay.
And that's actually close to my own theology, or part of my own theology, but there are a lot of different ideas of God in Judaism, and that is in fact one of them.
Understood. All right. Interesting.
It can be covered under the term panentheism, which is that, in a sense, everything is part of God. Everything is part of the one, which works with string theory, if you like that.
Yeah. And just the fact that we return to the earth when we die.
Absolutely.
Dust to dust.
How we go back to nature and we go back to the earth.
Absolutely. So yeah, you're not sounding so far off from Judaism yet. You just haven't had anyone tell you that, as far as I know.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Block.
Yeah? Brenda?
I would need much more time to think about an answer.
Okay. That's your homework.
Okay.
Yes.
Lots of environmental allergies. I'm allergic to animals. I love the beach, but I'm a city girl from Queens. I really have no need for grass, but I support the zoo.
Very good.
So it sounds like you like the idea of nature, but you don't always get along with it.
I appreciate the beauty of sitting on the beach and looking out at the ocean, and I can appreciate the beauty of mountains, but I have no need to go to them.
Right.
I like pavement. I love pavement.
I know, I've been to your backyard.
You have to understand, for a long time I wanted to pave the whole thing. So that's about as much grass as anybody really needs.
But you appreciate nature.
Yes. My dream house is actually an apartment overlooking Central Park, because that's grass I don't have to deal with.
That's
it's
what
grass
Miriam
out
says, my
there.
wife.
I love that.
He's the one that likes all this suburban stuff, but doesn't mow his own lawn.
That's for Nick to do.
Put it in.
We hire the kid behind us when we
Beat
don't
the
have time,
damn
which is
thing.
most of the time. Yes.
I think nature for me is actually the one thing where I can see God the clearest, almost. Because we can debate evolution and Adam and Eve and sort of meld them through nature, at least in my own mind, is that these things that that are hard and fast, that may not make sense scientifically, but nature is there, we can see it, we can touch it.
It's concrete.
It's concrete.
Not concrete for Denise,
right.
but
in the sense that, there is no question this nature is there, and it's to me it's being there, although scientific and pollination of trees to that extent, but the nature of it even existing to that.
you don't need to
there.
think to be
Right.
in nature. You can simply be present.
I have to say I really appreciate the power of nature after Sandy blew through here.
It's a respect.
Yes.
The nature is both
How
beautiful
small I
and
felt.
dangerous.
How inconsequential I was when faced with this huge wind, and my windows shook, and it was frightening, but at the same time it was mesmerizing.
Awe-inspiring. It's awesome.
A light
It
rise
is.
storm over the Gulf of Mexico while we were on vacation, and it's that same kind of cool feeling.
Or I've never actually seen it, but I would love to, the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, which are really, it's radiation from the sun hitting our atmosphere at different levels.
It's inconvenient because it makes planes reroute and it upsets your cell service.
Oh, Denise.
Joe and I were caught in a sandstorm. We were on our way to California, and I was driving. What else is new? And I was surrounded by white and didn't know where I was or what was happening. Or anything. I was so scared. took my hands off the wheel and started saying the Shema. And
the
eventually,
Shema is the fundamental statement of belief in Judaism.
So I took my hands off the wheel, I said the Shema, and the car came to a stop, and the wind and the sand passed. I was this close to a ravine.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I was shaking.
Reasons not to move to Phoenix.
What?
Reasons not to move to Phoenix.
No, I'm telling you.
Reasons to move to Phoenix, just on the other side. No flooding of your basement.
This was out in Arizona. The desert in Arizona. It was very frightening.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Nature is beautiful, but also bigger than us. It reminds us that we are of our humble nature as human beings.
Absolutely. I mean, at times it can be a great source of entertainment and happiness as well, basically, too. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the winds that we consider so dangerous in certain circumstances with the sandstorms and whatnot. When I went to college in Northfield, Minnesota, very plains-like, very flat lands, very windy and everything like that. I loved to frolic alongside fellow druids, basically, just in the winds and everything like that. We just would dance around wildly, singing praises to the divine at large, basically. And it was an awful lot of fun. It was amazing. And I mean, I'm never more at home, basically, than in the mountains of British Columbia, giving the mountains a back massage, so to speak, skiing and everything like that.
Very nice.
So.
I don't know if I'd want a massage from skis myself. But,
well, I mean,
we were in Colorado, up in the mountains, in the summertime, because the ski lifts are free in the summer. You can go up there. Yeah. And the flowers are so beautiful up there, and they're gorgeous. And at one point, I just laid down. I looked up at the sky. I felt like the sky was this close to me, and it was. Now that I think about it, it was the most wonderful, peaceful moment I had that whole trip, just laying there, looking up at the sky.
So we, in Judaism, believe we have a very important relationship with nature. We rely on it.
Right, absolutely.
We need it. It's the place in which we live, and so we have actually 4 different New Years in Judaism. So what are they? Rosh Hashanah, the first of Tishrei, and Rosh Hashanah. It's we tell kids it's the birthday of the world in a sense. It's when we were first created, and it's a new year for our own personal lives. So that's one New Year. What's another one?
New Year. I guess in a certain way, it's kind of close to Rosh Hashanah. You'll always sort of a New Year for your spirit.
Good try, but not correct from the black and white one. But you could argue it. But it's part of the same season. But you're close. The beginning of Elul, the first of Elul, which is actually seen as the New Year from a counting perspective of tithing animals. When animals are born, giving firstborn animals to the temple. The beginning of Elul, that marks the new calendar year in that kind of cycle.
Okay.
Then we have the first of Nisan, which is the month of Pesach.
All right.
And I just blanked on which new year that marks. It'll come back to me. Actually, it's in this packet when we get to it, and but it is an important new year. I promise you that. And then, I remember now. It's the point from which we count the kings of Israel. So when we would say somebody had been a king for, King David had been king for, let's say, however many years David was king, that was the time where they marked the year. Tax season wasn't January through December, it was Nisan to Nisan. And then the other thing was that if you made a vow that referred to the different pilgrimage festivals, it would start after Nisan, after the first of Nisan. So it'd be Pesach. So if you said, I'm going to bring such and such amount of flour and so many goats to the temple over the holidays for the coming year, Pesach, Passover, would be the first holiday because that happens. Are you familiar with the months on the Hebrew calendar?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Nisan is one of the months on the Hebrew calendar, and it's in the month of Nisan that Passover falls. Does that help?
interesting.
Okay, good.
What about the New Year of the trees?
Exactly, Tu B'Shvat. That is
Hello.
what we are talking about today. Well
I
done.
thought so,
So
yeah.
it is the New Year of the trees. It is when spring hits, and it is traditionally marked by when the almond tree blossoms. When we begin to see signs of fruit, most of the water has fallen from the winter in Israel, theoretically. It's still falling right now in Israel. They've got lots of water, which is rare. A little dangerous. Yes. But it is, and so the ground is fertile at this time, and so we can do more planting, and it's very exciting. It sets the course for the coming year agriculturally. So why the name Tu B'Shvat? It's in the month of Shvat, and Tu, we in rabbinic literature we use letters as numbers.
Oh.
And so Tu is the combination of the letter Tet, which is 9, and the letter Vav, which is 6. So it's the name of the holiday is the date. It's the 15th of Shvat. So you put Tet and Vav together, and Vav can make an U sound, so Tu B'Shvat.
Okay.
Yeah, because B before something means in. So what I did is one of the ways that the tradition, Tu B'Shvat is actually a minor holiday. The only New Year that we celebrate as a big day of rest, as a significant holiday, is Rosh Hashanah, the New Year where we really count. The other ones are markers in time. However, in the 16th century, we started attributing a lot of mystical significance to this, Kabbalists. And so they developed a Seder is usually, we know that from which holiday?
From Pesach.
From Pesach, from Passover. It's an ordered meal in a sense with a lot of meaning that comes to it. So they established the tradition of having a Seder specifically for Tu B'Shvat. So I have copies of most of the pages from the Tu B'Shvat Seder for all of you, which we'll go through and we'll touch on important parts to note. So you might get invited to a Tu B'Shvat Seder. It might be that your kids have go to one at religious school, which they will go to.
The temple?
We are not having an adult Tu B'Shvat Seder, but we will have a children's Tu B'Shvat Seder. Maybe for future
Well,
years.
there was my job out the window.
Wait, why?
I always did Tu B'Shvat on Tu B'Shvat Oneg on Friday.
So we should do that.
You want to do that?
Why not? But that's this coming week.
Yes, I know.
Yes. Although it's Martin Luther King as well.
I know that.
So absolutely. Oh, you all should join us. Join us. Even if you're across the world, come join us at Temple Emanu-El this weekend. Because Friday night it's a gospel service where New Hope Baptist Church is joining us. And Reverend Owens will be speaking. Shabbat morning is a potluck lunch where we're having services and then potluck lunch, and then there's our very own Michael Akira is leading a program on fighting racism in our community, what has been done, but what we need to continue to do. Some people. Sunday we will be at New Hope Baptist Church.
Yes, and our choir sing. You don't want to miss that. It's still fun.
But come bring Tu B'Shvat take food for Shabbat lunch if that works for you.
Actually, no, it doesn't. But I'm sorry. I could do a Tu B'Shvat thing on Friday night.
I think we could bring in some fruit on Friday night if you're up for it.
Okay, sure.
Okay, good. Excellent. So I'm gonna pass this out, and we'll stop at different areas, and we'll talk about it. So here you go. Here you go.
Thank you.
And here you both go.
Thank you.
I apologize. I suddenly see the irony in celebrating trees by making large packets of paper. So on the first page, what you see is a nice poem. I encourage you to look through this at another point. But it's the idea that this really marks the transition back to life. The winter for a lot of groups was almost death. It was hibernation. There was the sleeping of nature, coming back. Chronicles of Narnia, the permanent winter. Everything was freezing. Exactly. We're not that far off. And so one of the beautiful things tied into the Seder is you see a lot of important values in Judaism. One of them is that you share your produce. That, first of all, you share it with the priest. So if we go to the one that's at page 4 at the bottom. Would anyone like to read under the original Tu B'Shvat?
I'll read it. With new buds formed and new rains falling, Tu B'Shvat was the new year for tithing fruit, which the trees would soon bear. 1/10 of the produce was brought to the temple, and every third year it was given to the poor.
Pause.
Every third year?
That I believe, and I have to look into this.
Well, they do it every year.
Well, there are other forms of tithing that are required, but my guess is some of the food that would go to the temple was also distributed. But right there, there's the idea that we celebrate the food that is given to us, not only by keeping it for ourselves, but devoting some of it to God as a means of giving thanks. The idea was, the religious idea wasn't giving to the temple, you were really giving back to God, because ultimately you were feeding those whose job it is to serve God. It was also a way of feeding those whose job it was to serve God, much of the sacrifices. But there's also the idea that any abundance that we have, we are required to share it. Where are other examples in Jewish tradition of having to do that?
Not plowing your fields to the edges.
Yes, the
Leaving
in the same way that that some Jews will let their payas, the corner of their head, grow long, that you don't cut them. That's where the side blocks come from, the same idea. But that you leave the corners of your field untouched when you're harvesting, so those who are hungry can come and eat. And likewise, when you're harvesting your field, you don't go for a second round and pick up everything that you dropped. And in the book of Ruth, you'll see that at one point Ruth is going behind Boaz to pick up, or not necessarily Boaz. She's going behind somebody to pick up foods that were left over.
Now she met her husband.
Exactly. But we don't always know that. But the idea is that tied with nature, something that we see is giving. That nature blesses us, and likewise we should bless others. Or God blesses us through the gifts that nature provides. Was there a thought there that was useful?
We had the first
we
food
have
pantry.
this thing all the time where I'm trying to get him to grow payas, and he keeps going, no, I'm not growing payas. It's enough that he's growing first.
Yes. So then you see that there are the different New Years as well. And then you see, again, as we talked about, why the tree's New Year's in Shvat. Because the rainy season has passed and the sap has risen up, but ripening has not yet begun. This is the important transition. Then you have names for Tu B'Shvat, you have nice little readings, and then you have different customs. And you see this again, Sephardic customs. Who are the Sephardic Jews?
I might keep getting this mixed up. Yeah, the Spanish and as well as later on the Turkish.
Exactly. Well, they are Jews who left Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. So you have them all along the Mediterranean, now all over the States. So you have a lot of Jews from Holland as well.
And rather than speak Yiddish, they speak Ladino, I believe, right?
Exactly, yes.
Beautiful.
So, very nice. So Sephardic Jews call this day Frutas, the Feast of Fruits, or Rosh Hashanah. Does Abraz, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. It sounds familiar. And so you have a tradition in Morocco of rich inviting poor to fill their hats with fruits. Inviting the poor in, we actually have at many holidays, but we like to connect them. And here's the first introduction. In Tzfat, it's often spelled Safed in English. I don't know why. Technically it's Tzfat. It's where the mystics really, that's where Jewish mysticism developed so strongly in the 16th century in the mountains in Israel, the northern mountains. So they put together a Seder. And in Israel today, this holiday is particularly meaningful because we are responsible for bringing a green land, for making Israel green again. Before the Jews really came in, it was all swamp. It was arid land. It was undeveloped. And we have since, we drained the swamps, planted fields, trees. We've developed irrigation techniques that people are studying in Africa to really make more and more of the desert land green and fruitful. So
we've learned how to make potable water, water that we can use to irrigate and water everything out there. By using it over seawater.
So in a sense, Tu B'Shvat is the original Earth Day. If you want to make that connection.
And we are an agricultural people.
So. That's a debate for another day. Today is what Judaism says.
There you go.
Yes. So you get to page 5, and what's really fun, what we'll say with the kids, is that Tu B'Shvat is the tree's birthday. Everybody has a birthday. We have lots of fun songs that if you come to religious school, there's a really fun song, especially if you want to sing it. They're blowing.
Trees are blowing in the wind. Whoosh!
So here's a fun song. Repeat after me. Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
I like a lot.
I like a lot.
And the reason. Tis a season.
It's a season.
We sing this part together. We celebrate trees on Tu B'Shvat. And so we celebrate trees like apple trees.
Apple trees.
Orange trees.
Orange trees.
Banana trees.
Banana trees.
Cherry trees.
Cherry trees.
Berry trees.
Berry trees.
Peach trees.
Peach trees.
Plum trees.
Plum trees.
Broccoli trees. And all the kids are like, broccoli trees? Yeah, and then the next verse you go through exotic trees, and then you say something like at the end of it, pizza trees, and all the kids are like, pizza trees? And then you have the kids make up trees for the third verse, and they'll say like guitar trees, rabbi trees, and then the punchline is geometries.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes.
This is a lot more creative than I think. I like it. It's very nice.
I didn't write it. So if you go through, and again I copied this for you so you would have this, so you can use it if you'd like. So you see that there are a lot of connections to Tu B'Shvat in Song of Songs. Song of Songs has some beautiful texts that talk about the vineyards, that talk about trees, that talk about finding love in those spaces. That who is it? Somebody connected nature with love, or finding somebody. I thought I heard that. Maybe that was a conversation I had earlier. But nature is a beautiful place that can be very romantic. Can be.
Everything comes to life in the spring.
Exactly. So if you turn to page 6, the major theme of Tu B'Shvat is creation. Not quite the creation of the world, but creation of plants that keep our ecosystem going, that feed us. And there's a certain respect that we have for it. There is a law that when we go to war, and if we have to siege another city, and we have to tear down trees, it is forbidden to cut down a fruit tree or a vegetable tree. If it is something that sustains people, you may not cut it down, you may not use it for building houses, or I guess not houses, catapults or whatever else you might be using. They probably didn't use catapults. So then we get here, and so something you may be familiar with for the Passover Seder is that we have a fair bit of wine. We have 4 cups of wine. The number 4 has some mystical connections. So likewise with Tu B'Shvat, we have 4 cups of wine. And so you see the first cup right here, and that you'll have a white wine and you'll have a red wine. And so your first cup is white. So what would white symbolize there?
It's the winter.
Exactly. And with every cup that progresses through the Seder, you add a little bit more red. A little bit more red. So you mix them. You drink it and then you mix it up a little bit. And you have a light rosé and then a dark rosé and then a serious red wine. And
we use white grape juice and grape juice.
Much better.
And we put them together.
Exactly. It depends on the group with whom you are celebrating this Seder.
How happy you want to be.
we should all be thankful for the trees. And so it symbolizes life. In a sense, red wine is like blood. And blood is lifeblood, or it could be the red of the flowers blooming, but either way, that more color comes back. If you look at the sky, the gray of winter rolls over to the blue, to the shininess, to the vibrancy of color. So, let's see. Actually, I'm just reminded right now. Have any of you seen Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Yes.
Yes.
So you know when Mel Brooks, he's the old rabbi, he's coming with a sacramental wine, and they say, Rabbi, any chance you'd share with us some of these wines? This is sacramental wine. It's used only for sacred purposes. Wait a second, there are trees, there are rocks, there's field. Well, bless them all and get for schnicken. Yeah, but this is really a time where we bless, where we're thankful for that. So you see that, you bless, and so of course you say blessing. And then there's the kavanah. A kavanah means to direct, or a direction. So often accompanying prayers, you'll have things that help set your intention for the prayer. So that would be what a kavanah would be. So here you see the wagon driver's blessing, which I invite you to look through at another point. So then we get to the next step. We get from creation proper to the land. The land being the land of Israel. If for those of you who were here for our calendar day, you'll remember that every holiday on the Jewish calendar has ritual significance, but it also has agricultural significance. That to live a full year of Judaism as it was designed, you need to be able to spend a year in the land of Israel to really experience the holidays along with the agricultural cycle. That on Sukkot, when you say a prayer asking God for rain, it rains shortly after you say the prayer because the time switches. I was blessed to have it rain first thing the next day after we said that prayer, which was really cool.
I think the most amazing thing for me when I went to Israel was going down to the Dead Sea and watching the desert and everything. All of a sudden you'd see all this green in the middle of the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Like big squares of green where things was growing in the middle of desert.
Right.
It was just fascinating that they could do that.
Exactly. And one of the things, the land is very important. We talked about the land having seven species that are native to the land of Israel. So one of the things, how did we mark that the land was beautiful? When we were coming out from Egypt and we sent them the spies, we recognized the things for which, the things that the land offers. So we talked about it as the land of milk and honey, of pastures where cows can graze, and cows, well, I guess more goats than cows. But then what is the honey that is being referred to? Not figs, but you're close. Dates. Date honey. So we were thinking of both the animals that can be sustained by the land that who in turn sustain us, but also the trees that grow in their fruits. And so then we see ultimately that when we're talking about it in Deuteronomy, would anyone read the verse from Deuteronomy, or the 3 verses? Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 6 through 8.
We thank you too for the land of Israel as we read. Your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams and springs and fountains issuing from plain and hill, a land of wheat and of olive trees and honey, a land of wheat and barley, of vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land where you may eat food without stint.
This is a place that is so blessed naturally that we can be sustained, that we can be comfortable.
They say that everything in the Torah has a reason why it's said. It's interesting that they say a land of wheat and of olive trees and honey, and they say that a land of olive trees and honey twice.
Let me look up the Hebrew of this verse to see what's there.
What do we do without smartphones?
We would have to carry around Bibles.
And I took mine out on the way.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say I don't know one.
You don't own a Bible?
No, I don't own a smartphone. Funny, very funny.
I'm just having fun. Okay. Shamata. Wait, sorry, I looked up Deuteronomy 6. Deuteronomy 8. Either this is wrong, or this citation is wrong.
Oh, I found a boo-boo?
Yeah, yes, I apologize. This is the wrong citation. Hold on, I'm going to look up very quickly. Hold on. If anyone finds it first for some reason.
Yeah, right. Whip out our smartphones.
Believe it or not, even it's very difficult to find an version.
I apologize for technical difficulties.
I mean, I love ebooks, but that one we can't. It's not.
Yes. Okay, hold on.
Deal with Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 6. Oh wait, it is in.
It's 8.
Oh, it is 8. It just verse 6 was not quite here. Okay, never mind. This is correct.
It is correct that they did it twice?
Yes, I just read two. No, the verse was correct. I just read too soon. Yes.
I'm confused.
They mentioned wheat twice, olive trees and honey twice.
Yeah,
For
they
For
mentioned it
emphasis,
twice.
maybe.
I'm sorry, my
I don't know.
technology is confusing me right now. So let's go with it says it several times. And
Okay.
For emphasis,
For
maybe,
emphasis'
right?
sake, yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Well, wheat and olive trees are things that you needed.
I wanted to get the
Deuteronomy
point.
is the second law.
wheat, olive trees, and honey.
I think that's what Deuteronomy means.
I've sort of lost basically everything over the past, what was it, 13 years of my life, so.
Well, this is one drash that I'll offer. A drash is an extra
explanation.
interpretation for it. So first we have water, streams and springs and fountains. Then we have wheat and olive trees and honey, which are things, a general topic, a heading of different fruits, different kinds of foods. Wheat and barley, you have breads. Vines, figs, and pomegranates, you have fruits. And olive trees and honey, you have olive oil. And you have honey, they're things that are used for cooking. They're things that are used for different purposes. So it could be categorically you have.
They're changing the meaning of it.
Yes. Either way, it says that you'll eat well. So we have the food, the blessing of the land that that we can live off of. Then you have again a reference that it's our job to till this land. When you get to page 14, not only will it be there, but you have to ensure that it'll be there. You have to take care of it, because what does Amos say? When you get back, you plant vineyards. You'll till your gardens, you'll eat the fruit. So you'll have success if you do the work, but do the work. But it'll be a blessing when you get back.
From the Garden of Eden, we always had the obligation of taking care of the land and the animals.
Exactly. But sometimes we have to be reminded.
We have to be reminded a lot. Are you
Absolutely.
kidding?
So we see that, okay, so that's the first part, in creation. Then, second cup, if you go to page 15, we see that there's renewal, there's rebirth. And so there's the question, now we go to page 16, we're really flowing through this, partly because we can, partly because we're running short on time, I apologize. So page 16, where do we find renewal? In our teachings. The Torah, we call it Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. And so we find renewal through the things that trees are symbolic for us. They're symbols that represent other things, and so we use the tree, we use the life-giving properties as a symbol of Torah, or teachings that have sustained us. that give us root and that help us spread out and grow. And so we think about Torah as well. So that's Torah. One of the things that we do, we eat different fruits. There are 4 kinds of fruits that we eat. And so here you have examples actually: nuts, etrogs, pomegranates, oranges, grapefruit. But the 4 fruits, one of them is we bring in a fruit or something from nature that we can eat the outside, but we can't eat the inside. So what would be an example of that?
We can eat that.
Fruits with pits, so peach, for example. Another one would be one where we can eat the inside, but we can't eat the outside.
Banana.
Pomegranate, absolutely. Banana. Absolutely. Then we have one where we can eat the whole thing. Seed and... Actually, they tend to be seeded fruits, but we can eat the whole thing. You can eat cucumbers, or you can eat... Raisins, grapes. Absolutely.
Carrot.
And then we bring in... Yeah, carrot. And then you bring in something where you can't eat it at all.
You can't eat at
You can't eat the outside or the inside. An acorn? Acorn, pine cones. Can you eat an acorn?
Yeah,
Not last time I
yeah,
looked.
okay.
Right? It sticks in your teeth.
Yes. Yes. So you have the different fruits that you eat, and there's a level. Okay, wait. Fruits with pits. Let's make sure I got this right.
I never remember one that you couldn't eat altogether.
Entirely edible fruit?
Entirely edible fruit. Like,
Hold on. So fruits with pits. We've got fruits with pits.
Yeah.
We've got fruits with peels.
You got figs. You can eat the whole thing.
Yes.
I don't know. Here, fruits with pits.
Entirely edible? Third kind of fruit. So where is the 4th kind of fruit in this?
You've got
Huh.
Wait.
So
you
that
eat
is
the
a mystery
outside,
for
but
today.
not the inside. You eat the inside, but not the outside.
Here's a fruit that you can eat neither one unless you process it. Bread. Barley or wheat. You can't eat wheat raw. You have to grind it up in order for it to be edible.
I don't think that
that
wheat
actually
as a fruit.
counts, but I'm a little stumped right now. So exactly.
A
That is
tomato, you can eat the whole thing.
Yeah. The beauty of Tu B'Shvat is there's so much creativity going into it that we can come up with new things today.
That's true.
But there's the mystical
Like
element
chocolate
of it
chips
where
instead of carrot.
exactly. Where we're trying to raise the sparks of the divine from all aspects of nature. And so we have 4 and 4, and you have 4 levels. You have Asiyah, which is creation, which are the shards of creation, the world that we see. And you go through different mystical levels to the highest level where you are ultimately, you're at the secretive level where it's really just divine. And so the idea of 4 and 4 is to really go through these levels, to go deeper and deeper to some kind of spiritual connection, and to find God, or to find some connection to something greater than yourself. It might happen, it might not. But one of the points of going through this kind of ceremony is finding more and more symbols, finding how everything is connected to something else. How when we read from Torah at services, we're reading, but when we read, it requires a minyan, so we connect with, a minyan is a group of 10, it's a quorum, which means that in reading Torah, we connect with our community, we share values. We're reminded of nature because we are reading from Eitz Chaim, from the tree of life. We're reminded of our dependence on nature, and we're reminded of our obligation. And then we're reminded of God and our history. And so the goal of every ritual is to connect yourself to something larger than that ritual itself. It should never be the end in itself. And why I brought this in, and there are many different seders that you can look at. They have fruit in common, and they have the cups of wine in common. Is that the beauty of the seder is that it's so rich with symbolism, and really the goal is to look at nature, to look at the things in nature, and find as many connections as possible. connections to God, connections to the land, connections to the people. And so likewise, if we see nature that way, if we see nature as imbued with the characteristics of creation, of redemption, of revelation, then we will treat nature accordingly. And so nature will keep us, we'll keep nature. God will keep us, we'll keep God. So that is Tu B'Shvat in a nutshell.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Thanks. And that is class for today. So if you want to take a few more
Oh
for
my
a friend,
gosh.
absolutely.
Already? I can't stand this. I know. Oh, my God.
Daniel, let me give you my business card. Brenda, right?
Yes.
I'll give you my business card.
That's your
as
name, I
well,
think.
so.
Thank you very much.
Her name was Brenda May. I used to call her BM.
Oh,
She didn't like that.
Brenda Joyce, I'm main
Pardon me?
character of Brenda Joyce, the actress.
There's no disturbance.
James,
My job
one
is
of the
to have
daughters.
chats.
So Johnny Weissmuller.
Oh.
My job
My
is
father
management,
named
that's all.
is his favorite movie actress.
I was named after Carol Lombard.
Emails
Oh,
usually.
Carole. Carol. Funny. All right. I'll find it. Check it out.
Brenda,
Thank you,
thank you
Robert.
for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.